Today, I will be joined by Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and Emmy Award winning living legend Henry Winkler to talk about the latest season of his hit HBO show Barry. How you doing today?
I am happy to be here talking about a show I love.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're so happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's an honor to meet you and talk Barry. I feel like everyone loves the show. You play so many legendary roles. I wonder where Barry ranks.
You know what? I don't have that in my life because I am so grateful that I had a dream and I'm living it and that I'm still living it. That is more overwhelming than I have to say. I think, Barry, that Gene Cousineau is a gift in my life. I got the Fonz when I was 27, and I got Gene when I was 72.
Hmm.
Just flip the numbers.
I love it. I love it. We we got to get into the funds. But this show Barry it's the perfect mix of comedy, drama, and then nightmares. Right, the show gets dark really quickly.
Really
Um,
quickly.
in the fourth and final season, what have you been most proud of over the journey?
First of all, that I'm alive, that I'm still, I ask Bill every year. I say, okay, I only have one question. Am I dead? Did you kill me? So I'm proud about that. But so far in the scenes that you've seen, the one man show is pretty great.
I couldn't imagine. I'm obviously I haven't gotten to the end of the season. They didn't send me that many screeners, but if I did get to the end of the season, I would not spoil it because I know so many of our readers and so many people who watch Salon Talks, they love the show. But I feel like it would be impossible to kill Gene because Gene is a guiding light. Gene is Gene's the person who gave Barry an opportunity to dream. So I would have been bugged out if it was like season two, and we see Gene get his head knocked off because Barry was kind of content in a way with his old job and good at it.
But here's the thing that you never know. So many people have died on Barry that you never know who's expendable. And so I just asked every year to make sure that it wasn't me.
So for those who are just getting caught up, Barry's a veteran who came home from the war and was manipulated into becoming a hitman. He stumbles across the great Gene Cousineau, who teaches him to dream, and dreams are those dreams that skill set, that love of acting that Gene has helped Barry with throughout the years. Do you think it's enough to cure Barry's trauma?
No, I don't. I think that Barry tries. I think everybody in the whole piece tries to redeem themselves. And some of us get there and some of us don't. Gene tries with all his might and just can't help himself to fall right back into Gene.
When you first came across Cousineau or any role that you decided to give your time and your talent to, um, what is a veteran like you? How do you decide what's worth it to you and what's not?
Every decision I make, I think, is made by my emotional stomach.
Okay.
I feel it. I say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I say, I'm scared. I'm maybe not, I don't know how to act anymore, but I'm going to try this. But I think that fear is very common among actors, that you get a job, you worked like Dickens to get a job, and you go in and you audition, then you get it, then you're elated for about 10 minutes, and then you go, why did I say yes? I don't know how to do this anymore. I don't know how to do this job anymore. And then slowly but surely you climb the mountain.
I had lunch with an actor a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me that he feels like every job is going to be the last.
It's without a doubt. I think it's built in. I don't know. But the work, the industry is so tenuous. You know, executives have the same life expectancy of rock stars. You
Mm-hmm.
know, either 18 months or 19 months. Everybody is works on fear, and you as the artist have got to beat that fear into submission.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think it comes with doing that research and giving that love and that energy to every role. And if you do that in an honest and ethical way, it seems like it works out a lot.
Well, you said something very interesting. You said honest. You have to be honest about whether or not you've got the ability and not just keep beating your head against the wall. You know, you have to train your ability so that it lasts.
Absolutely. We watched Gene Cousineau undergo some pretty huge transformations
Yes.
over the 4 seasons of Barry. Started out as kind of an asshole, and then really got the opportunity to self audit, to see himself, and make some attempts to be a better person.
Right.
Right? Can you talk about his growth?
His growth, he like I said, I think everybody on the show wants to grow, wants to redeem. And poor Gene, it's like, you know, you're trying to climb up the slide in the playground, and all of a sudden you just kind of slip down. You don't quite make it to the top. I'm a slipper.
I thought it was so special for me because there's some scenes sprinkled throughout where Cousineau is being confronted by people who he has hurt,
Right.
and he really wasn't aware. And I think sometimes, especially when we have these big personalities and we're out in society and we're moving around and we have we're balancing multiple relationships, that sometimes we might be into what our own issue is, and we might not know how we make other people feel. So I thought it was really
Right.
great to see that.
And that's life. And that is the way that Bill and Alec have constructed our show. They are filled with foibles.
The show has an underlying meta conversation about acting. Has it made you reflect on your career, on your own process? It's studying.
I'll tell you the thought I've had about my career is that people keep reminding me that pretty soon it's going to be 50 years that I started in 1973. And it is almost impossible to grasp that me, not somebody else, me, I did this for 50 years. Where has 50 years gone? How fast life is. Am I that old? Where is my walker? It's just it's an amazement to me. That's the way I see my career at this moment.
I think about as a kid. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and Baltimore is like has a history of being an extremely segregated city, and we didn't have like white kids in my neighborhood, but I remember my first leather jacket when I was like 9 years old. And my older brother and his homeboy, they're like, nah, fuck that. Flip your collar like the Fonz. And I'm
Oh,
like, the
that's
Fonz
great.
from Happy Days, because the Fonz just waves his finger and he gets a date. I didn't get a date by waving my finger, but I flipped my collar up.
Yeah, no, that's something that I have a warning that I usually give. Do not snap your fingers in real life. women will break them off. Yeah, you can't just snap. But isn't it incredible how the Fonz just crossed all sociological lines?
Absolutely.
That is something I haven't thought about that. That is something I'm very proud of.
It's the power of cool. You mastered cool.
And cool is authenticity. It's
Absolutely.
just being authentic.
I like that. I like the jacket you have on now. This is like the
Thank you.
2023 funds.
Well, I love color. I love color. I'm just I, that's and so here it is. Yeah.
Mhm. One more thing about the show that I think is extremely important is the conversation around properly supporting our veterans. My heart breaks when I'm driving down the street and I see someone holding a sign and I'm a veteran, help me out. And I hear some of the nightmare stories that happen at the VA hospitals, or even just understanding the logic and the creativity that went around addressing some of the things that Barry felt coming home from the war. Um, I think this show could potentially enhance the conversation around that so that we can properly support our veterans.
Well, I think if it wasn't ending, it probably could do that very well. But I am shocked by the skewed priorities of the supposedly greatest country in the world.
Absolutely.
That we have gone completely to the wrong peak. That population has lost its way to profit. And I don't mean that in any great statement. I just mean that money is so important. Human beings have just like drifted into dust.
It's sad.
People can't buy anything anymore. They can't live. They can't support. But everybody wants them to do longer, better, stronger work.
The greed is picking us apart.
It's picking us apart, and we're going to pay for it. I mean, I don't even think it's highfalutin anymore. It really it's the truth, and we're going to pay for it. No
Well,
pun intended.
thank you for being brave enough to have those conversations.
It's the right now is the conversation of the way we are living.
You mentioned you referenced the Fonz, and I've heard you talk before about the fame that came with your role in Happy Days and how people were actually treating you like the Fonz. But now the Fonz is writing children's books. Do you are you enjoying that quieter lifestyle?
You know what? I never thought I could do it. I never thought that I would be part of a writing team with my name on a book. And in October 17, our 38th children's novel is going to come out.
Congratulations.
It's thank you. It's unbelievable.
What are some of the messages that
You know what they are?
like,
I'll tell you exactly. Well, I just realized it, that the umbrella of all 39 are children who think they are different, who want so badly to be just over there. I'd like to be part of that over there. And who you are is just great enough. The way you are has nothing to do with how brilliant you are. If you learn differently, so what? No one is ever going to ask you about a hypotenuse when you get out of school. I have never, ever brought it up, thought about it, needed it, don't care. But I flunked it for 4 years in a row.
What's next for you acting wise?
I don't know. I was hoping you would have that answer. I don't know. I just would like to keep doing this until I can't anymore. And I'll tell you what, if I can keep doing it, my dream I would like to be back on Broadway.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I've
Amazing.
done 3 Broadway plays. 2 have closed within 7 nights. 1 ran for 9 months. I'd like to do it again. And I better hurry up.
We're gonna put that out into the universe because
All right.
you deserve it. Thank you so much for your time, your work, Barry. We appreciate you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again for coming on.
But thank you for such a lovely conversation.